Um, well, I love Italy. I have a great time in Italy. Like now, I'm lucky. My work is translated in lots of foreign languages, so I get asked to go to different countries, and often I say no. But when it's Italy, I always say yes because A, I like Italy, and B, also my publishers here, Europa, they are very accommodating, and we always go out for lots of nice meals and have great times. And yes, I don't know why, but readers seem to understand me here in Italy, and I have very passionate readers, and I always have a lovely time when I'm here. Yes, but also I feel that it's if you take an outsider perspective, you can actually have a better perspective sometimes. So, for instance, with my book The Humans, I almost wanted it to be like a nature documentary, but instead of looking at lions or sharks, you were looking at humans. So from that, you had to have a perspective that wasn't human to pretend to be something that wasn't human to then look at. And I also think it's like a painting. If you're in a gallery and you've got your face really super close to the painting, you can't really tell what the painting's about. So sometimes if you take a few steps back, you can see the painting. And I feel like sometimes one of our problems is we are so wrapped up in our sort of everyday trivial existence that if you take a step back, you get that perspective, and there's a kind of therapy in that as well, I think. Shakespeare's an interesting one because obviously, Shakespeare's who we are all in the shadow of in England because he's what you teach at school and everything. So when I get influenced by Shakespeare, I feel like there's a mixture of respect and irreverence. You have to be playful with Shakespeare because I love Shakespeare, but it took me a long time to love Shakespeare because in England he's become so dry, and yes, it's just the official. It's like the Bible. It's become just everything, and it took me a time to actually understand that Shakespeare himself was quite irreverent. He didn't start off being an establishment figure. He never went to university. At that time, theatre wasn't it wasn't a middle class or an upper class thing. It was on the south side of the river in London. It was next to the brothels and the pubs, and it was, quite debauched and scandalous. But I think Shakespeare's a good one because of how he mixed genres together. Like if you look at Hamlet is many, many things. It's a historical drama. It's a sort of young adult existential novel. It's like a ghost story. It's speculative fiction. It's a thriller. It's a tragedy. It's so many different things in one. Whereas I feel like nowadays, if you look at literature of 21st century and 20th century, we've become so obsessed with genre and staying in your lane and knowing what you do. And I feel like my influence from looking sort of before modernism to like Dickens or the Brontes or Mary Shelley or Shakespeare it gives me freedom to feel legitimate in disrespecting the present day rules where you should be either a very serious author or a comedy author or literary or commercial, and it's all just new inventions, I feel, of marketing. And actually storytelling, whether you go really far back to like ancient Greece and ancient Rome, storytelling always mixed reality with fantasy, mixed comedy with tragedy, and I think that's where the heart of creativity is, where you mix everything together. It changes all the time, and obviously people, the people around me. I'm very privileged in that I'm still with my partner. I've got children now. I've got people who love me. But also, I feel like just the understanding. What I didn't know at 24 was how life fluctuates and changes. I felt like I would be at that state at the bottom of the pit forever. And obviously that didn't happen. And all the voices that were in my head with depression saying, oh, you're going to be dead by 25, everything's going to be terrible, your partner's going to leave you, this, that, and the other. Yes, some bad things do happen in life, but that view of depression where everything is going to be catastrophic all the time, that didn't happen. And so in a strange way, my experience of depression made me optimistic. And my reasons to stay alive aren't just the people around me now, but it's the understanding that there's so much unknowable stuff in the future. There's so many people I will become. We become different versions of ourselves in life. And I didn't understand that when I was young. And as you get older, you understand how much you change personally, and how, even if you have depression forever, your attitude to that changes and it fluctuates like a weather. It was slow. It was very slow. So I became ill very quickly, and then my recovery was very slow. I can remember particular moments. Often there was moments of like nothing happening. There was a moment a few months after I first became ill, and it was a moment of nothingness. I was just walking along, and the sun was out, and it had been a very heavy winter, and then the sun came out, and it wasn't a moment of happiness, but it was a moment of nothingness, of just sort of being. And I felt calm for the first time in months, and it didn't last long, but it just gave me that hope that there'd be other times when I wasn't consumed by my own mind, and it slowly built up and built up. Yes, it's about a very, very, very old person called Tom Hazard, who is 439 years old. But he doesn't look like you'd imagine a 439-year-old person to look, because he has this condition called anageria, where he ages slowly. So he is getting older, but he's getting older on a different timeline. And again, it was taking a sort of fantasy idea as a way to look at human beings. So it's taking, my interest isn't really in immortals but it's about having a microscope to look at us now, and also having fun. So this time, instead of basing the story on Shakespeare becomes a character in the book, and then you have Scott and Zelda Fitzgerald, you have Charlie Chaplin, you have different people popping in, and so I was using it as my time machine. And also I just want to have fun now. You get to an age where you don't always want to just write to be treated seriously or anything else. You actually just want to enjoy yourself, and hopefully some of that enjoyment is felt by readers too. Yeah, I think so. I feel like we're now in an age where it's not sex that sells everything, it's anxiety. Whatever it is, whether it's politics, whether it's the beauty industry, whether it's social media, whether it's insurance, whether it's status anxiety, we're always encouraged to be anxious. And that there's some solution we could work towards or buy, or there's some future point that we've got to work towards, but we never actually reach that future point. Because if we actually reached a point where we were totally satisfied with what we owned, we felt calm about everything, where would that desire to buy new stuff? So we're constantly being sold solutions to problems that we weren't born with, that we didn't have, but were made to feel. Because we've solved a lot of those material problems. So now our natural anxieties are being exploited and capitalized upon. Well, I suppose in the early days it gave me confidence. I mean, because my problem was confidence. I had no confidence in my own ability at all, and I had no ambition for myself or belief that I could, have my name on a book or in a newspaper. So when I started writing those articles, it gave me confidence, and also it gave me a bit of discipline, because you have deadlines. It's very immediate. Someone will say they want an article for midday tomorrow, and you have to write it. So it taught me that writing isn't just this sort of, it's not wandering around fields full of daffodils and looking at clouds and waiting for inspiration. Writing is actually work, and it's a craft, and you have to sit there and do it. And I think that's one of the reasons why I'm so prolific. I do write about 2 books a year, and I think that's partly from that journalistic experience of just having to write very quickly. Yes. Hello, readers of... I get my pronunciation wrong, so I'm going to try my best. Sargassi, Matt dei Sargassi, which is a great title, I do believe, all the readers. And to Italians, I always love being in your country, so hopefully I'll keep coming back and enjoying your food and culture and people.